Hello everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. We're going to be unboxing a Fallen Land, a post-apocalyptic board game, a game designed by John Lonngren and Sean Cahill. And this game is published by Fallen Dominion. This is a game you'll see on the very front cover of the box, 2 to 5 players, 1 hour per player, 14 plus. So you might be wondering, why am I unboxing this game if it's only a 2 to 5 player game? Well, that's because if you pick up Fallen Land, a post-apocalyptic board game, a Journey into Darkness expansion, you can take what essentially is a post-apocalyptic board game that's meant for more than one person to be playing and turn it into a solo playable game. This comes with 2 solo playable variants inside the game. It's mentioned right there on the back of the expansion. We'll be talking about both of these products in this video so you can get a good idea as to whether or not this is something you want to dive into. So without further ado, let's check out the main core box. Alright, so now let's dive inside the box and take a look at the rulebook for Fallen Land. But one thing I want to make mention of, you guys, is that there will be a Kickstarter coming for more Fallen Land content. I believe is extra expansions and some additional items. It was scheduled to be late January of this year, 2019, to be launched, but I believe they delayed it just a month or two. So I'm not 100% certain of the exact time frame, but it could be near the end of Q1 or the beginning of Q2, somewhere in that range. So again, this is hopefully a video that will help you, educate you, and show you what's inside the box so you can make a decision for yourself if this is a theme and mechanics wise and just the look of it kind of appeals to you. Again, won't be talking mechanics in this one because this is the first time I've ever dived into this one myself, heard good things and wanted to check it out for me. So we got the Fallen Land rulebook right here. The total amount of pages in this thing comes in at 42 pages, and this is the general look of the layout of the rulebook and instructions, as well as some nice art there you can see on the side. But mainly actually with this one, there's more, I've noticed just going through the first few pages anyway, there's more text than there are visuals so far. But you can see now we're getting into some card art and things like that, so the icons are being explained. There's a nice visual representation of some of the cards, the dice. So this is definitely a theme I'm interested in, so I'm really hoping that the solo gameplay in this thing is strong, and that's the major reason why I got pulled into this thing, really hoping to see something exciting with it. So we'll kind of see whether or not this is something worthwhile very soon. We'll move on past the rulebook and head into the box where we have a bunch of what looks to be player or character boards would be my guess, or these could be locations. Yep, starting locations. So we got like the Coalition of the Black Angel, the Enclave of Terra, and oh, look at that. There's even nice text on the back here giving you some a narrative to the actual location maybe that you're playing in. So these are all kinds of different starting areas. You've got, these are still all starting areas, a whole bunch of different places. That's cool. Not too sure what the difference is between them all, though I'm noticing different numbers. Maybe it's where in the United States you're starting. From my understanding with this game, it's all about the US and all about the post-apocalyptic theme inside of the US. So this is probably going to have you, potentially being a part of 10 different locations within the US map. So we'll go ahead and move these out of the way now that we've talked about a majority of them. And what's underneath of these next looks to be like the first player sheet. So I'm not too familiar with what this actually is, but it says a game turn represents 1 month and is divided into phase and subphases. The first player announces the opening of each phase, goes first and acts. You get your effects phase, town business phase. You're probably flipping this thing over for more phases. Yes, the party exploits phase and the end turn phase. Interesting. So that's going to be cool to take a look at. So first player's got that reference sheet. Tokens, so many tokens. Oh my gosh, there's a lot in here. Okay, so let's go through these one at a time. Again, I'm not going to be able to explain much about what I'm seeing here because I haven't played it yet, but you can get a good idea of the different type of artwork as well as different tokens. Hopefully as I go through, flip them over. We'll move on to the next sheet. Look at that. So pretty awesome looking. Looks pretty good. Flip that over there. Next one. Oh, these got to be the wound tokens. That would make sense. Got some ammo tokens, it looks like. Maybe sanity or willpower going on with the red ones. Got the radiation. Guns. Lots of guns. There's always guns in post-apocalyptic type themes. Ammo. Looks like there's medical supplies, food. All the things you need to survive, as well as all the nasty things that are going to come get you. So here are the tokens. Those are the 6, I think that was, punch boards worth of tokens. And then, of course, we've got baggies. It seems like this is becoming a theme with unboxings now. I don't think it's very rare that I unbox a game nowadays. It doesn't come with some type of baggie inside of it for organization. I really appreciate people doing this because it's really nice to not have to go out and purchase like I do sometimes for some of these. These I'm not familiar with, but they're kind of cool. They actually look like they're stand-up tokens that actually would sit on a board straight up and down, like almost 3D. I don't know if they're all different or not. Yes, they are. So there's different tokens here. Maybe they represent different factions or events that can happen in the world. So basically you drop them down and they're 3D. So they have different symbols. Like this one here has, what is this? It looks like it has a, oh, it's a woman or an angel. There's a woman there with wings. This one here is 2 guns, it looks like, or 2 pistols. I could be wrong on that. The flag, the US flag, or a version of the flag. And yeah, that's cool. So I like that because it gives you a nice 3D visual image. And there's more than just that. There's actually a whole bunch of unique ones in here. So maybe it's a representation of where you are on the map. I don't know. Dice. You got 4 D6s that are black. You also got some colored D8s. Sorry, these are D10s. I need to go to sleep. I'm just joking. These are D10s. They're all colored, so I'm just going to be rolling those for different checks within the game. Now we're going to get down into the game board. All right, and here is the game board for Fallen Lands. So, of course, you've got a score track all the way around this huge thing, all the way to the win at the very end. So I'm guessing it's a race. You start right down here off camera to the bottom left at the beginning, and you're going to run along the track all the way up to the very top left-hand corner, which says win. You've got a whole sprawl here from the United States, a bunch of different, and you see there's no actual lines representing any state within the United States at all. It's literally just a bunch of hexes everywhere, and there's numbers all over the place, which I'm guessing are going to correlate to a bunch of encounters that potentially happen at those different locations. Plus, there's those symbols we were seeing before in regards to the 3D tokens, which are these things right here. Maybe these somehow come into play that way. Not 100% sure yet. Looks interesting though. We got the map key over here, so this will tell you that some are either starting town locations, resource locations, random locations. The type of terrain, it can be plains, mountains, city hex, radiation hex. So radiation's in red. So you got kind of like areas that are, kind of radiated. You got the mountains, obviously, that they would have been even prior to and to current day, essentially. And you've got plains, which are the majority of the U.S. Multiple terrain hex is interesting because some of these hexes actually have more than one trait within just one hex. So that's can be a little bit of a mixed bag. And then water, of course, because water does exist as well. So some of them are actually off the board, or off the mainland, I should say, and into the water. So that's pretty cool. So it'll be interesting to see how this all ties in. Let's head back to the game box and see about the cards. All right, so there's certainly no lack of cards in this thing. There is a ton of bricks of cards in this. Look at this thing. Each of these things are massive, and there's 6 of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and rip into these, and we may not be able to get through all of them, but I'll try to do a quick rip through of all 6 packs. We'll see what they have in store for us. All right, now we're going to take a look at the cards, which are spoiled cards, at least the pack I opened anyway. Handguns, got a Humvee here with a machine gun on top, or an M60 or something. And then you've got what looks to be a map with compass and some other good things. So these are things you can potentially pick up. I don't know if these are all spoiled cards, but it's starting to lean that way. So that's a lot of cards to potentially find. So let's go ahead. This might be gear, I'm guessing, within the world. Who knows? I don't know what the best way is to hold these. I'll hold them this way so I can actually get through them, but that'll be kind of sideways to you guys. So like jackpot, you got some gloves, heavy duty flashlight, gear and tackle kit. I like the artwork. It's very cool. It's got like kind of that, it definitely has that animated kind of, I don't know how to explain it really. It's definitely a hand drawn for sure, but it looks cool. I like it. Camping gear, you definitely need camping gear. On bike, nice. Oh, look at that, 7.62 mm assault rifle. So that's interesting. It's got some really good guns. 6 fast horses. That's useful, except when they get eaten or destroyed by somebody else. They don't necessarily get eaten. I guess when I think post-apocalyptic, I'm automatically thinking about zombies for some reason. So this is probably not the case, I'm guessing, in this one. I could be wrong. Maybe it's just a bunch of human factions going after each other. But there's lots of guns to find and some obvious. Oh my gosh, you got yourself a heavy rocket launcher. So if you're looking to have a game where you can play around with some serious toys, it appears this one definitely has quite a few going on. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I like the items you can get because these are exciting. I can imagine pulling these out of the box and just being like, yes, oh yeah, the indestructible tennis racket. That is probably the highest and best game card you can possibly find. Oh, these are some pretty aggressive weapons going on here. Gyrocopter. This is really cool. Unlimited stash of duct tape. Wow. Definitely handy. Definitely handy. Armor plating, alien plasma, all kinds of stuff. This is nuts. It's just craziness. I was expecting like a few. Honestly, when I was going through this deck, I was like, oh, there'll probably be some pistols and a machine gun. That's probably that'll cover the gist of it. But nope, they have things like the compound hunting bow as well. Doesn't matter what. Autograph bat, right? Submachine gun. Oh, so many good cards. Oh, there we go. The industrial chainsaw. Flare guns. First aid kit. Designer suit. So many cool little items to use, and I shouldn't say little because some of these are massive. So that's a pretty sizable deck of cards. Essentially these are like gear cards, basically spoil cards you might find around the world as you go through. So that was one deck. Pretty impressed and happy about what I see in this deck. Let's go to the next one and find out what this one's all about. All right, for this deck of cards, looks like we have city and... Okay, so those cards are specific to the different zones or terrain that you're in. Maybe they're like encounter cards, I guess. You've got action cards mixed in. So this might be a little bit of a more confusing deck to go through because we won't know which one's which, but it's a mix of action and city cards kind of strewn throughout. So maybe we'll see a pattern as we go through the actual cards here. So first one here is out of ammo. These cards are the action cards. When you see this kind of look and feel to the card, it's an action card. So again, it's got the artwork. I'll really mainly focus on the artwork because, of course, the actual terminology on the cards aren't going to mean much right now, being that we're not playing the game. And this is the City Rats. This is going to be like an encounter. You can see there's quite a bit of text there and story. So that's cool. They've added a bunch there. So you got all kinds of different things you can happen. It's kind of it seems like it's like every 6 cards. There's like 6 cards of each, and then it kind of moves on to the next pile. I might be skipping the odd card here too. But I kind of want to get through these decks at a decent pace because there's actually quite a bit of them. Quite a lot. Revenge. The Gamble. Red Reavers. Unforeseen Delay. Yep. That for sure is an unforeseen delay. Oh my gosh. Physical Mutation. That looks... Oh, that's pretty cool. I want you to do everything I tell you to do. Nice. So it kind of looks like there's a little bit of... some of the cards appear to be kind of gritty and gruesome a little bit, not a ton. And then some of them seem to be kind of humorous as well. So it's interesting. I'm kind of trying to figure out what they're going for. And really the only way I'll be able to figure that out is actually playing the game. I don't know whether the game's meant to be taken with a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek kind of thing, or if it's supposed to be dead serious. But that's kind of an interesting vibe when you go through the cards and kind of get a little bit of everything there. To see what this game is going to feel like when you're actually playing it. So here is another deck of cards we're going to go through. All right, so here are some more action cards, and just to make sure these are actually all action cards, yes, they are. Every single one of these is an action card. Now, I have no idea how many of these you get when you start the game, or if you start with a certain number and you kind of just move through them, but these appear to give you the ability to do different things, obviously, in the world. So I don't know if it's action is supposed to be a literal action in the world, or it's just an action you take on your turn and it's tied in somehow like that. But I imagine there's like a thematic story or narrative driven kind of thing going on there. It says play during the effects phase on an opponent, they lose 2 prestige. When you're playing against enemies, you can kind of hit them with stuff. So action cards seem to help you in most situations in a turn. So they're telling you what phases to play them in, which is good. Some of them play anytime you want. Play during a party. Well, that's interesting. So you're kind of, I guess if you're playing this with other people as well, you can kind of be playing, and this is kind of where the game, again, is built for multiple players. So some of these cards are going to be specific to hurting other people, I'm guessing, that you're playing against inside the Fallen Land, whereas the solo expansion, which we'll open up here in a second, is going to give cards that are going to be specific to solo, it'll be interesting to see what decks from the core game are not a part of the solo experience, or not needed, or not usable when you're only playing with one person. That's really what I'm kind of curious about. We'll find that out as we go through, but thought I would give you guys, I think that's actually the art of the expansion. So they took that from inside of the game itself. That's pretty cool. I just noticed that. I'm like, oh, that looks familiar. And yeah, there's a lot of cards here, guys. Like, there's a lot. I'm even skipping a few. There's just tons of cards here. Like, these decks, this deck is huge. So that's half the cards in the core box. I'm guessing if you're going to sleeve this, you're probably talking, There's got to be at least 100 per bundle here. I'm guessing this is probably around 500 cards or so. That's 500, 600 cards. So yes, more spoils cards, but there's actually character cards hiding underneath this as well. Whole bunch of them, actually majority, and there's a couple spoils cards kind of mixed in. So I don't know if these are going to be characters we encounter. That kind of makes sense. I'm guessing that these guys are going to be people that we can run into, maybe. I don't know if they can join us or not, or maybe they're characters that actually try to hurt us. There's all kinds of icons and symbols on these cards, so knowing what's for what is a little difficult out of the gate anyway. But definitely a lot of people, and I'm probably skipping a few here. Titanium soft bat. So there's every once in a while you're getting like getting one of the spoil cards mixed in. My thumb is basically covering the artwork, which I'm trying not to do, but these are on a side angle a little bit, so pretty cool. Artwork's really nice. It's pretty good. It's got the cartoony look. That's what I was trying to say earlier. I was like, what does this look like? It looks like a comic, essentially is what I was trying to say. Is really the vibe that I'm getting from this. It's, characters seem cool, very unique. Everyone has a different like layout, their story, their attributes. Like, who knows how this all intertwines into the gameplay. It's just a lot of cards. So many. I think at this point now I'm skipping through so many. But there's some cool weapons and just tons more. Next deck is the Plains deck, and it also has spoil cards mixed in as well. So we'll kind of see a little bit of both, I guess, as we go through. So lockpick guide tools, interesting. And I'm just going to kind of push through all this stuff as we go. And of course, some of these cards are going to be upside down, just the way that they've got them in these boxes here. Some of them are sideways and some of them aren't. So I'm going to stick with the ones that are sideways because the art seems to be the focal point of this unboxing mainly because, well, I'm moving too quick for you guys to read anything in here anyway. So I'm definitely not allowing for too many spoilers. So that's a good thing. And it'd be really fun. I think this would be an interesting one to do on the channel. I'm not sure when I'll be able to schedule it in. I don't know, because I have a few things lined up already that I really like to show you guys. But this is one that I'm interested in. I want to see how the solo play kind of implements. So it might be something I try with a couple people just to get the gist of it, and then throw the solo expansion in and see kind of how it actually compares or handles itself by itself. In the core experience, at least, it definitely seems like it has a lot going for it with other players. But my primary concern or interest is in the solo play. So there's going to be more solo content, I believe, being released if there hasn't been already for Fallen Land. I think there's 2 expansions out in the wild right now, so I only have one expansion. I don't know if the other expansion has extra solo stuff or not. I don't think it did when I picked the other one up. Here we go. So we got some mission cards. So there actually are cards specific to a goal. That's important to see. You got mountain cards. So that's good to see. It's good to see there's like an overall objective, because we got to the very last deck and I hadn't seen anything that was like kind of telling you that this was something that you needed to do. So these are, going to be a mix of Plains cards and other cards in the game, but then eventually you get to, I think, to these ones. These are missions. Yes. So this is what a mission card looks like. It basically has like a black border, lots of text on it, but it's going to give you kind of maybe an overarching objective. And maybe, or if I'm just assuming this, I could be wrong, but it could be that you gather a certain number of points when you complete a mission, and you can complete multiple missions in order to gather points, or maybe you just need one and you just follow that mission all the way to the end, and that's how you win the game. But based on the game board and it having a win track at the very, very end at 80 points, I'm guessing it's a race to get to 80 would be my understanding. I could be wrong though. So there's a lot of text in this one, not a lot of art, so there's not too much to really show in this deck because a lot of it's just going to come down to lots of narrative. But the backs of the cards are very nice, and the artwork is cool. Again, has a nice comic look to it. So that is a good, hopefully, overview of what to expect inside the box if you pick up the core experience for Fallen Land. Again, the disclaimer is there is no solo play on this one out of the box from the core experience, from my understanding. If I'm wrong about that, someone please let me know in the comments and I'll correct that. But from my understanding, you need to have this other expansion I'm about to unbox, and we're going to do that right now. All right, now we're going to take a closer look at the expansion I'm looking forward to, because this is what implements solo play, or at least 2 solo variants. And I really like the sound of 2 solo variants inside this expansion. So it's not just offering one singular way to play the game solo. There's 2 different ways, and I don't know which one's better yet, but I'm hoping to find that out. This is called A Journey into Darkness, and it's one of the 2 expansions I believe are currently released into the wild, and I believe this is the only box that has that solo content inside of it, which is why I picked it up. If there is content in the other released expansion and someone has it, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know whether or not there's more to the solo experience in another piece of content, but from what I understand to what is currently released to retail, this is what you need to get to the table with solo. So without further ado, let's crack the top of this box open and see what's inside. All right, and here is a look at the inside of the box. Looks very familiar to the front cover of the box, but we have a rule book here. The rule book actually comes in at 10 pages, which is actually not a ton, which is great because you can kind of dive into this and consume it fairly quickly, hopefully, and I'm going to be doing that in the future. So we got some new terminology for the solo play, 6-player rules. This also integrates a 6-player if you want to add that too, so it's not just solo variants, but you got a solo variant overview is section 1 for solo variant number 1, which is one way to play it solo, and then there's a second one in here as well, starting right here. So they're about a page and a half each, it looks like, in order to kind of get up to speed on the different variants. And there's some artwork in here, not a ton, but there's sporadic artwork throughout it on some of the cards and things like that. But that's a general gist of the rule book. Next up, we got ourselves some more dice, so that's nice. Let's get some extra dice in the game. I don't know if it's just to bolster the amount that came in the core game or what, but extra dice is always good. And some more D6s, some more black D6s, and then even more so, we got a wonderful baggie here to keep some stuff in, maybe the dice, and cards. So we have 2 different sets of cards, different sections. This one right here looks like it adds characters, so let's go ahead and tear into this and see what's exactly inside of this bag. All right, so this set of cards here is the smaller package. We've got industrial welding, cutting torch, got ourselves a grill, compass, and maps. And these are all considered spoil cards, at least so far. Nice kick-ass sound system. Auto pistol, spoil card. So most of these are spoils, and then characters are also added in as well. Pretty awesome. Lucky day, lucky playing cards, armored Humvee. Oh my gosh. James Bond 77 Lotus. This is great. Gosh, they have combat fatigues. Oh my goodness. A bunch of interesting things to find characters wise and stuff like that. So these are a mix of everything and anything. Just ridiculous. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, so that wraps around, I think, to the beginning of that particular pack. Let's take a look at this one. There's one other full deck of cards here that I want to see what this one's all about. All right, so for this particular deck of cards, which is a lot larger than the last one, it's a bunch of action cards, it looks like, at the beginning. Then we have a couple extra city, mountain, and plains cards to add in, a couple missions cards to add in, and then things kind of get a little sporadic, it looks like, throughout the rest. It's kind of everything all jumbled together. I'm guessing the mission cards for solo play are built in here, or maybe the rules kind of fill in the gaps. But let's see what these cards look like anyway. It might be tough for me at this point to pinpoint exactly which cards are going to be specific to solo play and to know how that's actually working, whether it's in the cards like I mentioned or the rules for the variants. But so that might be where there's a little disconnect, at least until I can kind of get my head around how the game plays. But hopefully this gives you some type of interesting look at the game cards, get your head wrapped around it. And of course, you can do your own research as well on Board Game Geek or on anything in YouTube that you can find. So we got a whole bunch of cards here to add in. Again, these are very similar to some of the ones we saw from the core game. And then lots of mission cards and all that good stuff. So I'm really interested to know that. Is it the rules that have been added for variants to play solo that really are the key here? And this is just bolstering the amount of content in the game? Or is it kind of a mix of both? Are there actual cards in here that have an icon on it somewhere that mentions that it's solo playable and they're only specific to when playing the solo game? What I would really love to see is, and I don't know if this is true or not, but if you can use everything from the core game and just have a variant that allows you to use it all. So it's always nice to have a solo implementation that allows you to play with everything that the game has to offer rather than taking things out, especially if it has to do with content. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And of course, for those of you guys out there, which I'm sure there's got to be at least one of you, this Fallen Land thing, I saw it at Gen Con. I've seen it all over the place. You could definitely let me know in the comments below if you've played this already and you know how the solo is implemented. Let me know in the comments below if it's a really good description of what this thing's about. This is an unboxing video, so there's no errors or corrections with this one, of course, but I'll pin your comment, put it at the very top if you have a good understanding of kind of how the solo works in this, so that you're one of the first comments that people see coming through the video, and that will help that person looking into Fallen Land to understand more about how the solo is merged into this game. Strictly from the standpoint of an unboxing, hopefully this was useful in understanding what to expect inside the box. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you again. As always, keep on rolling solo.